Dave's Broken Diamond Club, written by Unda, voice acted by Nerdhilistic. Chapter 8, Unpack Your Heart, by Philip Phillips.
You continue on with your life after Dave kicking you out of his. You had been falling into a depressive episode before this, and that didn't just stop being a thing, but it's almost the cliche of it that helps you drag yourself out. Lying about pining for Dave is just sad, and it's not that you don't miss him. God, you do, but it won't help. You made your coon, so you have to marinate in it.
It's obvious that Dave has told CarCat what happened, though, because you are the frequent target of his well-meaning concern.
I can talk to him about it if you want, you know. Dave famously has less sense than a wet bag of sand, but he can be persuaded into sanity and intelligence now and then.
He told me to stay away from him, so I'm going to.
You're really just going to give up like that?
I'm not giving up. He told me to stay away from him, and so I am.
Since when do you ever do what you're told? Maybe he didn't mean it, and he was just pissed off.
If he didn't mean it, he would have shown up again, or trolled me, and he hasn't. It's pretty clear to me.
Ugh. Look, between you and me, and because you're my best friend, I'm going to tell you something. He's fucking miserable without you.
Pretty sure he wouldn't want you telling me that.
Pretty sure I'm trying to help you two morons.
And I think it's more likely that he's miserable because I lied to him, broke a promise, and killed his Lucis. If it was from him missing me, he knows where I am. It's not like I would turn him away in a million sweeps. I made him miserable. That's all the more reason to stay away.
You pessimistic dunderfuck! Listen to me when I tell you that that's not it! You two were basically fated moirails. You can't let one fuck up and a murder get between you!
If I recall correctly, you were the one telling me to stay away from him in the first place.
That was before you actually managed to be the magical one-horned hoof beast that got Dave to pity you back. I know how much you pitied him. You two were good for each other. You got me and him together for fuck's sake. So you had to fight. Get back together already.
We weren't ever together, KK. He shot me down. We were just friends.
Friends? My hefty shame globes. What is that?
It's like, troll anatomy is like supposedly different, but that's basically balls.
Got it. All right, I think I did it fine.
Yeah. Trolls are hermaphrodites. Every single one of them has shame globes, nooks, bulges.
Love it.
All of which is left, like, ambiguously vague.
Love it.
In terms of what it actually is.
Perfect.
But, yeah.
Friends, my hefty shame globes. You were moirails. People could see your pale crush from space. Don't you lie to me.
Fine. I pitied him more than I thought it was possible to pity another person, and losing him is hell. Is that what you want to hear? I knew he might hate me for what I did, and I did it anyway. It's over. That's it. So just drop it.
Stop cramming idiocy down my eyeballs like a vendor of suspect meats getting rid of his tainted wares before the drones arrive, and get over yourself already.
Twin Armageddons has blocked carcinogeneticist.
Oh. Alright.
Blocked.
Fuck you. We ain't talking about this anymore.
I'm over this. I'm over your help. Stop it.
You can't help me.
I'm just too tormented.
Don't try to fix me, CarCat.
CarCat, I'm the worst.
Let me marinate. Oh. Of course, you unblock him eventually, and you can probably measure the nights by the intervals between him harassing you about Dave. But you figure when he messages you, telling you that his husk top is filled with viruses, and won't you pretty please fix it, that at least in person, when he's annoying, you can just stick him to the ceiling.
So you fly over there and see him waiting on his roof where he flags you down.
Hey, it's just in here,
CarCat says, leading you inside. I know where your room is, dumbass.
You sigh and follow him anyway. Are you scrawnier than the last time I saw you?
CarCat asks, shooting you a look over his shoulder. You shrug apathetically. You've been determined to not let losing Dave send you into a spiral, but it's hard keeping on top of everything. You're awake at a normal time, dressed, showered, and socializing. So maybe you're not keeping on top of groceries so well. You're not perfect.
CarCat hovers awkwardly near his husk top as you wake it up and inspect the damage. The very moment you move the cursor, the screen glitches and pop-ups for all kinds of things flash up on the desktop. You raise an eyebrow and look over at him.
Did you have some kind of seizure and download all of the viruses on the internet?
You ask slowly. Something like that. Just stay here and fix it, okay? I'm gonna go get... Yeah, sorry.
Karkat mutters and backs away in shame. You hear him head downstairs and you shake your head. You pull out your palm husk and plug your eargrubs into your ears. You're going to be here a while, for sure. You start going into the registry and deleting what you can, just culling this shit left and right until it's well enough for you to eventually plug your own well-protected machine into it to drag his back to health.
It's dull, tiresome work, and you don't even stop when you hear the front door slam downstairs. The last thing you want to deal with is an unintelligible conversation with Karkat's Lucis or whatever he's dragged in with him. You keep working instead, pointedly ignoring the photograph of Karkat and Dave on Karkat's desk that he's no doubt left there to remind you of him. He's probably going to exploit this you helping him thing so that he can rant to you in person about getting in touch with Dave again. You're onto his schemes. You sigh and reboot his machine, hoping the poor abused thing will run better when it restarts. The song playing in your ears ends, and in the quiet before the next one begins, you hear the floor creak behind you.
It is nowhere near done yet, KK. Don't even ask. What the fuck you did to this thing, I don't know.
You grumble and peer at the thing as it whirs into life again.
You jump at the buzz of sigh over your skin, and your eargrub pops out. Karkat doesn't have sigh.
You whirl around in Karkat's chair to find that it's not Karkat behind you, but Dave. You stare at him, dumbfounded, and you drink in the sight of him like a man lost in the desert for days. The slight but athletic lines of his figure, the thin scars on his skin, you look him over desperately to see if he's okay, and then you remember that it's not supposed to be your problem anymore because you're staying away from him. The chair clatters to the ground behind you as you leap to your feet. You blindly scramble for your palm husk with one hand.
I'm sorry,
you blurt out, and Dave opens his mouth, but you continue on.
I didn't know you were here. KK asked me to fix his... But I guess he set this up? I didn't know. I wasn't trying to...
You rush to say, and oh no, Dave is frowning. Yeah, I guess that,
he says, and oh fuck, you've missed his voice, but hearing it is a punch to the gut. You want to beg to stay, to plead forgiveness, but you don't. I'll go. Fuck KK's machine.
You mumble and hurriedly store your palm husk in your Silodex. You talk to Hal about me,
Dave says without tone. The name throws you for a second until you recall. What? Oh, Hal, the AR person. I didn't mean... They said they already knew, that they knew you and Durka. I only talked to them once.
You insist. Yeah. See, I knew that already,
Dave says as he taps his own palm husk and holds it up, putting you abruptly face to face with yourself. Or a recording of yourself, anyway. It's from when Hal asked you if you wanted him to get you back with Dave again. You can hear your own answers to his questions and see how pained you were about the thing.
You should really cover your camera with a sticker or something. But you told Hal no. You never tried to contact me, and I'm guessing that since Karkat lured you here and locked us in his hive, that you've been turning down his matchmaking attempts. So what the hell, man?
Dave demands, jamming his palm husk back in his pocket. You told me to stay away from you,
you say quietly, and you can hear the distressed buzz of your tense thorax humming into your words. And you just did,
Dave says flatly. Wait, what? Isn't that what you wanted?
You ask in bewilderment. No. I wanted you to come after me and harass me and insist that you knew what you were doing and shit,
Dave says. You're pretty sure that he's being sarcastic, but his tone is so dead that you can't tell, so you stay frozen in panic.
You want to be my Moirail. I know you do. You said so, isn't that right?
Dave says, stepping closer to you. Mutely you nod.
See, I knew that, and I told you not to go anywhere near Cal, but you went off behind my back and did it anyway, instead of listening to me because I know more about the situation than you. But no, it's some big gesture, some, look, I saved you hoofbeast shit, so that now I have to be your Moirail, and you just be like everyone else, but worse.
He hisses at you. That wasn't why...
You protest, but he claps his hand over your mouth and you clam up. And Karkat swears you're not like that, and I'd thought you weren't, but I've been wrong before and he's biased. But then I get Durka telling me that your motives were all noble and shit, that you had known I'd kick your ass to the curb, but wanted to help me anyway. Durka just fighting your corner like that. Then Hal reveals he's been meddling and that he offered you an in to my goddamn graces again, and you say no because you don't want me being anyone's puppet, and now you don't try and troll me? Not even once, and it's like...
Dave trails off.
Do you know how stupid what you did was? You knew barely anything about Cal. You just assumed you were at a safe range, and that bomb of yours could have blown you up just as easily as you trusted Veriska, of all people, for help. You know she's a fucking sociopath. She could have killed you. She killed your mate, Sprit. Why would you ever trust her again? Shit like this is why you need someone to stop you from...
Dave shakes his head. You know what he was about to say there. It's why you need a Moirail, someone to stop you being so thoughtlessly self-destructive. You squirm out from under his hand. You ever going to finish one of those sentences?
You say before you think better of it.
Dave scowls, his eyebrows drawing sharply down behind his shades, and he shoves his hand over your mouth again so hard that your head tilts back. Your instincts flash up worry about being manhandled like that, and having so much of your throat exposed, but you know it's Dave, and so the panic calms.
The problem is that you did all that and accepted no reward. You got game over and didn't argue about it. And if you'd been a douchebag who did argue about it, I could have ignored you forever, but you didn't, and you were stupid and reckless, but you wanted to help me, even if it meant me never talking to you again.
He says slowly, and his hand slips from your mouth over to your cheek. You'd like to say that it was some picture-perfect movie moment, but instead of him stroking your cheek all pale-like, what happens is your dumbass system gets the slightest hint of it, and your legs forget how to do their job, and you fall down onto the floor.
I hadn't read ahead! Oh my god! We've been staring at this line
For ages, not realizing the derpitude that was about to grace our senses. I love them. They're so stupid.
They're so fucking stupid. Oh, that's great. That's great.
Dave is staring down at you, his hand frozen in the air.
You're just so stupidly pitiful, it hurts. Did you really just fall on your ass?
He asks incredulously and leans over you. Pitiful?
You echo as a dangerous sense of hope starts to fill you.
Dave nods slowly and kneels down on the floor of Karkat's block with you.
You didn't pull that shit to manipulate me. But I'm serious. If you lie to me about something that big again, or break a promise that monumentally important again, then your ass is grass. You hear me?
Dave asks, and you nod hastily. So, are we friends again?
You ask, hardly daring to hope. I hope not,
Dave says quietly, and leans forward, resting one hand on your bony thigh as he gets into your space. His nose brushes against your cheek. Oh, maybe you have to work up to being his friend again, then. That'd be fair. I missed you.
You confess, and feel him laugh against your skin. I missed you too,
he tells you. He leans in and winds his arms around your neck and presses himself to you, hugging you tight.
You may have been stupid as all fuck, but what you did was obviously pretty selfless. Stupidly selfless, even. I couldn't do that, and I'm about to be real selfish.
He mumbles into your shirt. You run your hands down his back and feel him shiver slightly at the touch. You don't know what he could ask you for that you'd think of as selfish.
Be my Moirail?
He asks.
You stare up at his uncertain face as your pulse pounds in your ears. You're not dreaming. You're awake. He wants you to be his Moirail, and it's all you've wanted for basically the whole time you've known him. And yet doubt is creeping in, and the expression on his face is rapidly filling with worry.
I'm so much worse than what you've seen. My mood swings, I mean. I don't think you know what you're signing up for.
You warn him, your voice hoarse. Surprise flashes over Dave's face, only to be chased off by clear pity. I'm cool with that. We'll work it out. You've survived this long, you can teach me. Properly school-feed me on your wild-brain shenanigans. I'll be the best student, I promise.
He says, as a grin spreads across his face, slow as moonrise.
Be my Moirail?
He asks again, softer this time. You tried to warn him, and you're only a mortal troll. You can only be selfless for so long. Yes.
You breathe out and nod sharply. Dave's hands are suddenly in your hair and his fingers lacing between both sets of horns as he jerks your head backwards. The panic you should feel is gone because he's your Moirail. Yours. And he wouldn't hurt you, and he doesn't. Instead, he just rushes in and kisses you, straight on the mouth, and graciously enough that your fangs clank against his. He giggles deliriously and moves to kiss your cheek. His laugh is contagious, at least to you anyway, so the pair of you end up on Karkat's floor, laughing like utter tools, and yet you couldn't care less.
There's a pop of red sigh, and Karkat's chair falls over in time for the pair of you to lean on the seat and back of it.
I don't know, man. I'm still working out what I should do.
Dave sighs into your shirt. What?
You ask. Karkat set this up, like obs. And on the one hand, hell yeah, dude, excellent, clearly worked out. Hella thanks and sexual favors for life for him. But...
Dave rambles. It could have not.
You supply. Right. And he also lied to me and to my Moirel.
Dave adds that last part with a tone of wonder that sends a thrill up your posture pole. Though kicking his ass, maybe.
You conclude. I'll see how I feel,
he mutters. You could comment on that, but you hardly want to get dragged into anything ash if they flip back. No way.
Dave shifts a little uncomfortably against you and the fallen chair, and then holds a hand out to Karkat's bookshelf. With a flash of red, he basically trashes it. Books fly out onto the floor with a smack, and several gifted scalemate plushies on top that you know were from Terezi and Kanaya topple off.
Your fine control sucks,
you tell him flatly. Only on things that aren't me. I just use mine for sick nasty ninja stunts, but I don't see you being impressed with that, do I? No, it's all, Dave, stop accidentally flinging things across the room when, oh, for fuck's sake.
He groans and drops his head onto your shoulder as an attempt to coordinate the fallen books into a mass that he can pull over, just instead slams them all together and blasts one up in the air. You catch it effortlessly. I am impressed by that, but your fine control still sucks. What are you even trying to do?
You ask. Just bring it all here.
He huffs, and you do just that, and, because you're a shit, you return the books to him in alphabetical order. You watch him realize it, only for him to grab a scalemate out of the air and bean you with it. He shoves you out of the way with his hands, and then just starts pulling things from the air and shoving them up against the fallen chair. There's no order to what he's doing, they're all just in a big Oh, you're stupid! This is a pile with your Moirail! Oh, shit!
Your face is about as dark as his, but you're going to power through this awkwardness. You by ignoring it, and Dave by clotheslining you down when he's done. I know Aradia and you were flush, but have you?
He begins. Nope.
You answer hurriedly. Oh good, neither of you knows what you're doing.
How about...
You begin slowly.
I could tell you something I've never told anyone.
You were going to suggest that he start, but you're going to be nice. Something good, though. Not like something you've not told anyone because they wouldn't understand. Like I'm sure a pun you slipped into code is hilarious, but I'm not going to get that. That doesn't count. Something embarrassing.
He responds eagerly. You sure? That's a double-edged sword because you're going to have to as well.
You remind him and reach over to pull his shades off. You don't see me doing that to you. Look,
he says, and pulls your glasses off and becomes a fuzzy Dave-like blur. Because I actually need them to see. Just because they look cool doesn't mean they're for looking cool.
You groan. There's some motion and then some more. You can make out the color of your glasses. How do I look?
Dave asks. I have no idea.
You groan. Not surprised. Fuck, you're almost as blind as Terezi. I'm getting panicked just wearing them. Here.
Dave says, and he slides them back onto your face with care and comes into focus again. His expression is too fond for you to stay irritated at him, luckily for him. You don't let people touch your glasses because you're basically toast without them. You can use your psionics to get around by touch a bit, and you're sure you could learn, after all, look at Terezi, but you'd rather not have to, and you have backups because you're not stupid, but still.
Something embarrassing.
Dave prompts you.
You lean back a little more against the pile and think. Right now, Dave isn't actively touching you, for all that his side is plastered to yours. He's awkward probably, so fine, you'll bare your metaphorical throat first. An idea comes to you.
When I was younger, I can't remember when, I was short. I hadn't met Karkat in person just then, but I think it was that same few periges.
You begin slowly. Oh, I think I've seen a picture of you then with Karkat. You were shorter than him and kind of chubby, and you had those bangs that made you look like you cut your own hair with zigzag scissors.
Dave says with a laugh. Fucking love that Dave rated Karkat, his fucking mate sprint Christmases' old photos to look at his pale crush as a child. Dave, you dork!
You don't correct him that your hair was that way for a while after that.
I did not, but yeah, around then. But yeah, I was chubby back then. That's important to remember.
You nod. Did you actually put on any weight since then, or did you just gain several feet in height and kind of stretch?
Dave asks and pokes you in the side. You shrug. He's probably not far wrong. Anyway, my psionics were getting stronger still then, and so I practiced a lot to get control, unlike some people. I'd throw small shit around and make sure not to break it, that kind of thing. I never needed weapons because I was powerful enough on my own, but KarKat sent me a blank kind Abstratus before we met for the first time. I think he got one free in a book or something? I don't know. So I had this thing, and I didn't know what to do with it, so I just threw the only weapon I had in there.
You continue. You have, I think throwing stars are the only thing I've seen in your hive,
Dave says after a moment's thought, and obligingly you pop a few out of your strife specibus to show him. They're red and blue tinted, of course. I didn't have these then, just some replicate shit from some East Alternian cartoon. And I'd never used the cards before, so I accidentally launched them wildly across the room, stabbed my server, my wall, and I panicked and tried to grab some of them midair with what I'll admit wasn't the best control of Psi.
You tell him. Holy fuck, what did you do?
Dave gasps. I managed to accidentally throw them again across the room in all directions, and stabbed myself. I still have the scar, I think.
You say and sit up. You pull the back of your shirt down a bit and work your hand over your shoulder, feeling for, there, the slight ridge of the scar. I can't see. Oh, there,
Dave says, replacing your fingers with his as he feels out the line of your old scar. Didn't do any real damage. Most of the destruction was to my pride.
You say despairingly. You'd been determined to never tell anyone, but here you are. You stop breathing when you feel Dave's kiss on the scar. Like he can kiss better the injury that happened sweeps ago, and like he doesn't have 100 scars worse than yours.
Dave pulls you back down against him, and when he starts talking, you can feel the vibration of his words through your back. He wraps an arm around your middle and begins.
So, there's this girl I know. She's tangled up with Durka and Jech, and she's Roxy's mate Sprit. The whole group is hella messy, man. You don't even know what their drama used to be like. Anyway, the girl, Jane, she has basically 2 interests. She's teal, so the fact that she's into the whole private detective thing isn't super shocking. She does some private legislatoratory detective-y mumbo-jumbo. And she's into baking. Desperately into baking.
Dave says, and you feel careful pressure as he touches one of your horns. You push your head into his hand like an affection-starved meowbeast. The cake girl from the one you sent me?
You guess, angling your head so that he can get his fingers at a nice angle around your horn. Right, that's her.
Dave agrees. Okay,
you say as he'd fallen silent. I knew that I liked you then, and I kept going back and forth on if I should do anything about it, like some demented yo-yo. I mean, I'm being selfish. No, now I'm being selfish because I don't think I can. I can't deal with you going off into space without me, and that's your whole chance to be normal, and...
Dave cuts off when you blindly reach back and pat him on the cheek. He sucks in a startled little breath, but seems to settle. You feel him exhale and continue his tale.
So at this point, I'm thinking, yeah, I'm gonna do something about this. So I go to Jane and beg her to teach me how to make a cake, and I wanted to make it myself and not just hire her. I guess beg is a strong word. She's desperate to get other people into baking. So I make this thing with her help, and I'm swearing her to secrecy, mostly because, the cake you got wasn't the first one I designed.
Dave admits. You're about to ask about that when Dave charges on, and you know he's nervous then, because stuff like that causes these run-on kinds of speeches.
Because, don't laugh at me, but like the first one I designed was going to be it's called a white cake. It's some complicated old recipe, but it's a really pale looking cake inside, and then you ice it outside all pristine pale white, and then if you're me and you have as little shame and or think sponge cells as I do, you also plan to cut it into a giant diamond and then throw white glitter all over it. And I was designing this out with her, and she was like, dude, are you sure? Because this is hella forward, and you don't even know if he's gonna say yes. And she's right. It would have been subtler, too, like, break into your hive when you were out, fill your hunger trunk with food, and then drag everything you own into a giant pile, and then sprawl over in it, like cutely oversized sleep clothes with a fucking white rose between my teeth, and then wait for you to open the door, and just waggle my eyebrows, and you all impudently, and launch into a spiel about my feelings. Dave blurts out in one long stream of thought.
You're choking a little at the idea of a kind of cake that you see in movies for moirails who have been together for a decade.
Oh my goodness.
Gay cake could have been even gayer.
Gay cake could have been so gay!
So gay!
Oh, wait, so red and blue mean something?
Oh, red and blue are just like Solix's favorite colors.
I see.
One of his eyes is red and the other is blue.
Nice.
His glasses are tinted like the reverse way.
Yeah. I have seen that.
Yeah.
Nice. You turn around in Dave's hold and look at his face stained dark with embarrassment.
I think I would have gotten the picture.
You say carefully. You think?
Dave groans. I might have also died from my pump biscuit exploding from shock and/or delight.
You add. Pump a biscuit?
Heart.
What? I thought it was like blood pusher.
It's both.
It's both. Okay. Pump biscuit. All right. See, this is why I kept these sick, nasty plans to myself. Don't want to bust my crush's thorax open with a fatal case of feels.
Dave nods. Yeah, just went for a handmade cake for me in my favorite colors, which was pretty much as effective.
You counter, and delight at the startled grin that spreads over his face.
Also,
you ask as you lean in again and prop yourself up on your elbow.
You said you knew you liked me then, but you changed your mind on that after. But when did you actually start, you know?
I don't know. I'm kind of stupid. With that stuff, I mean. I spent ages ranting to my friends and also to myself about how I both liked and also really didn't like Karkat until they pointed it out to me a few times that I was either red or black for him. Or as it happens, both. I think I started realizing after the first time I kissed you, which, yes, I heard the words I said, and I too think they're dumb, but I just did that because I wanted to, and then spent ages like, why did I do that? I don't usually kiss my friends, or want to do it again. Oh shit, he keeps helping me out, swoon. I mean, I did mention I'm dumb.
He says despairingly. You're not dumb.
You counter. Well, when did you realize?
He demands. The first time I met you, I started getting a crush on you.
You tell him. Ugh, see what I mean? I'm emotionally pan-damaged.
He starts to rant. Shush.
You whisper and pap him right on the cheek. You think you're getting good at this, or at least you assume so from the way his expression goes a little glassy. Is it like that for you? Like you're just actually melting?
Dave questions you, and paps you back to test his point. You nod and plaster yourself to him, the pair of you dazedly petting each other's horns and faces getting tangled in each other until it feels like there's nothing wrong in the whole universe at all.
Time passes, but you don't know or care how much. But it's Dave who jolts in alarm. He pulls an arm out from underneath you, and you bonelessly slide down his side a little further. There's an annoyed little huff, and the sound of Dave being anything less than happy sharpens your mind somewhat. You blearily open your eyes only to find that it doesn't really help. Your glasses are off.
Dave can't see.
You mumble. I got you, man. Here.
Dave's voice says, and you see red and blue come into focus close to your face. You reach up and take your glasses and slide them on. Dave is on his palm husk and frowning as he types. What's wrong?
You ask, and reach up to push your thumb against the furrowed part between his eyebrows from him frowning so hard. Dave hisses and hands his palm husk over to you. He's talking to Karkat. If you could stop being smug for one goddamn minute, that'd be great, because honestly, you're making it hard to breathe up here by sucking all the air out of the building to fuel your burning fire of self-satisfaction. Which, BT dubs, self-satisfaction is all you're gonna get if you keep pissing me off. Shockingly, the world does not revolve around your mutant bulge, Dave. It was a simple goddamn request, right up there in gray, just to know if the pair of you are decent or not, or if I walk upstairs into my block, I'm going to be treated to live-action pale porn. A simple goddamn request. Well, maybe it's none of your business, and I don't see why I should tell you anything, seeing as you lied to both of us to get us here. As if anything was going to happen if I didn't! You were convinced that he had to be the bad guy, maybe because otherwise you're the asshole, and he was certain you hated him forever and was never going to contact you. You don't know anything about me. Could that be because you refused to tell me anything, you hyper-paranoid fuck?
You told him about Cal, though, right? The night that Roxy and Durko were here? And he knew about me killing Cal, so what doesn't he know?
You ask patiently, sitting up and facing Dave. He's still not wearing his shades, so it's obvious how he avoids your gaze. Didn't really tell him about what Cal could do, not in much detail, or what he has done, or...
He trails off, and his hand falls down to the place that you fused his skin back together, the injury that started this whole drama. Karkat still had your back then, even with what was, evidently, a super tenuous reason for doing what you did from what he knew. Karkat's loyal as fuck. You should probably appreciate him more. Want me to talk to him? Tell him things?
You offer. I just don't tell people things. Not real shit. And he knows about Roxy and Durka, sort of, and Cal a little. But I don't know how to just say shit. The only person I've ever really told stuff to is... you.
He mumbles, and you can feel your face heating up.
I don't want to ruin shit with him.
He adds quietly. Karkat's pretty patient with other people's shit. I doubt you're anywhere near that at all.
You assure him. Shit, he put up with Gamzee right up until Kanaya ended that problem. You think the guy even still talks to Eridan sometimes. He'd wait for Dave for a long-ass time. You know it. Could you talk to him? I know it's a completely lame thing to ask of UN.
Dave starts, but you just reach out and pet his hair between his horns and stand up. No problem.
You tell him, and bask in the relieved and grateful look Dave gives you. You leave his palm husk with him and head downstairs looking for Karkat. He's not hard to find, pacing back and forth across his whole ground floor, his eyebrows drawn down like they're trying to meet up with each other to gouge him in the eyes as he taps out angry messages on his screen, which you bet Dave is ignoring.
Hey!
You call down as you descend the last few steps. Hey!
Karkat says in surprise, lowering his palm husk and looking at you. You don't really feel bad about what he did. Or, as it happens, anything much at all. Karkat looks you up and down and then barely manages to stifle a laugh.
Are you even on this planet anymore? You're so happy I think I'm going to barf just looking at you.
Karkat teases, grinning himself. Shut up, you're ruining it.
You groan as you float past him and drop onto his lounge plank. Feel free to thank me anytime,
he argues and sits down with you. What am I thanking you for again? Setting this up with Dave, or finally fucking your husk top up so much that I'm going to have to take it out back and shoot it as an act of mercy?
You scoff, and genuine panic flashes across Karkat's face. Wait, you're not really going to, are you? You can fix it, right? I just knew if there was nothing wrong with it, you'd go before I could trick Dave into going up there,
Karkat says in mounting terror. Of course I can fix it. I can fix anything.
You tell him confidently. You will still reserve the right to mock him for whatever you find downloaded on his husk top, but that's what best hate friends are for. Dave isn't talking to me still, is he? Should I go up there?
Karkat asks, looking up with worry as if he could see through the ceiling or something. Nah, he just wanted me to talk to you about, everything, I guess.
You say.
Honestly, you can't remember what you have and haven't told him, let alone what Dave has said, so you figure you need to cover it all. So you do. You start with Cal, explaining everything about him that you know. You cover why he was so dangerous, why Dave avoided him so much, and what he was like when you got him back from Cal.
I knew that was where most of his scars came from, but he didn't talk about that new one. Wouldn't tell me anything when I asked him, the obtuse fuck. But he went to you even when he was that hurt? That's...
Karkat whistles lowly. You know what he's thinking, that it's a really strong pale relationship you two have, even if it's just officially started this evening.
But I could have helped kill him, though. You could have said something to me. He's my mate sprite, you know?
Karkat adds irritably. You doubt that Karkat could have practically provided any skills, though he could have potentially distracted Dave, but even that would have been suspicious. I nearly trashed my relationship with Dave over that. I knew it was a risk. You think I wanted you two breaking up as well?
Karkat nods, a little misty-eyed. If this was a movie, he'd be all over the romantic tensions, flying around and dramatic twists. You continue, covering everything about Roxy and Durka that you know, and why Dave usually keeps sections of his life so hermetically sealed from others, and why talking about it is probably pretty weird for him. You just happened to blunder into that part of his life the second time you met him.
It was luck, I guess.
You say with a shrug. Fate.
Karkat counters, starry-eyed. Fuck, this is a stupid conversation to have with a romantic. After a moment, though, the starstruck look fades from his face, and he slouches forward, despondent.
So, to conclude your incredibly long lecture,
Karkat says, I can't believe you're lecturing me on talking too much.
You snipe, but Karkat just backhands your arm and continues talking like you hadn't even said anything. To conclude, Dave's probably furious at me for manipulating him into a situation even if I was trying to help him, because he obviously gets enough of that everywhere else, and I just went and...
Karkat trails off.
I'm not furious.
Dave's voice comes down to you. You look up to see him leaning over the stair rail, his feet ever so slightly off the floor, explaining why you heard no footsteps. He's balancing perfectly. His control over himself really is fantastic, for all that his control on other things isn't great. He hops over the rail and slows his fall with a trail of red and lands between you and Karkat. He lands with his knees drawn up towards his chest and his arms loosely wrapped around them. He's wearing his shades again.
It wasn't cool, though.
Dave accuses him.
You were both just so miserable without each other. I had to do something, but... I obviously fucked up the hell of it.
Karkat admits.
I'm not trying to make you feel bad, man. That's not going to make me feel better, is it?
Dave counters. You shift back a little and watch the two of them talk things out. It's clearly awkward, but still painfully sincere. It occurs to you that if you're really staying with Dave, and not going off-planet, then your future will likely be similar to this. You'll be balancing your friendship with Karkat with your moral allegiance with Dave, as he does the same for his relationships with the both of you. You're all probably gonna fuck it up along the way, but you're feeling strangely optimistic about it.
By the time you're all cool with each other again, it's way too late for you to go home unless you feel like being extra crispy deep fried on the way. So instead, the three of you throw something together from what you can find in his cold box and play some racing game until Karkat tires of losing so much that he tries to strangle you with the cord of the controller.
Just like last time, Dave sleeps downstairs with you. He's basically velcroed to your side, only when you wake up, it's to Karkat stomping down the stairs in search of coffee.
Holy shit, he's still here?
Karkat remarks as he spies Dave tucked under your chin. You'd figured that Dave was asleep until he lazily flips Karkat off.
When you go home, he comes back with you, trusting you to fly him there. Walking through your door, he looks around in surprise.
What?
You ask. Your place looks nice,
he notes, and you catch the surprise in his tone. Yeah, well...
you say as you turn your back to him and walk into your nutrition block for a drink.
I didn't expect you to come back again, and I know we weren't together before, but it still meant... I knew you liked me then, and it seemed like a shitty way to repay that by just ruining my life like it'd, I don't know, prove that I needed you? Me living in week-old clothes with everything broken or unusable wouldn't bring you back.
And you kept the plan alive, too,
Dave says, touching the leaves. I promised I would,
you reply.
Dave smiles at you, and you glow inside to see it.
He's around a lot after that, and he stays with you more often than he doesn't, sleeping in whichever half of your coon he pleases. But the best thing to do is still just to leave things open to him rather than trying to hold him in place. Sometimes he slips into your room in the middle of the day, having been gone for nights, and sometimes you awake to him gone again. He always leaves you notes when he leaves, which get added to your growing collection. And most times he'll tell you where he is, either outright or by messaging you something like, I just watched John scarf an entire soft-serve grub cream in one bite to prove blue bloods don't get think sponge freeze. Spoilers, they do.
So you're not surprised when you had a shower in a Dave-free hive to come out to find him in your desk chair as he looks at his palm husk. Shit like this is why you've started taking your clean clothes into the ablution block with you. You don't want to walk around naked when your moirail is a ninja.
Karkat's a dumbass,
Dave announces as you enter the room. Water is also still wet. Collar bear is also still shit in the woods. The world continues as normal,
you reply. So, you know his secret plan to set us up?
Dave continues. The one that worked?
You ask. Shut up. So he had a backup plan and then forgot to cancel it.
What? Karkat! You saucy shit! Dave explains. You have no idea what that might be, though.
He's having a party, but it's near Roja's, and I don't know how he swung that one, but still, he was going to invite us both, and I don't know, but he basically invited everyone he's ever met. Shit's crazy.
Dave protests. You try to consider the shape of Karkat's plan here.
Invite mate Sprit to party. Invite best friend to party. Profit! No. Romance!
Alright, but we are together though, so it just means that he's invited us to a party.
You say, trying to be reasonable. I don't want to go. It's obviously hella nefarious.
Dave pouts. Unless you think he's planning something else, I don't see how it's nefarious.
You say reasonably. I'm not going.
Dave protests. Well, who is going?
You ask.
Dave mutters under his breath and wakes your husk top up and opens your email. You want to note that he's the only person you'd ever allow to do this? And clicks on some new email from Karkat that you hadn't even seen yet. He opens a link that shows up a guest list with you and Dave being the last people unconfirmed. Holy shit. Out of your original group of 12, everyone but Gamzee is going, and he's dead, so you suppose that's allowed. Though that said, Aradia has said that she's going, though you wonder if it's with Equius. But shit, even Pfeffery and Aridin are going. But on top of them, there's Dave's little group of friends. Roj, John, Jaded, they're all confirmed.
You lean over Dave and confirm yourself is going. Dave makes an offended little noise, and you look down pointedly at him.
You don't have to go,
you tell him, but he should go and he knows it.
If you're worried about Eridan or Tavros,
you start to say, but Dave shakes his head. I can handle myself.
Dave answers easily. I know. Just let me know if... Oh, unless that's the problem,
you say as you pull back. You've not been keeping your relationship with Dave a secret, but you've also not actually told anyone. Partially because you don't consider it anyone else's business, and partially because you know how private a person Dave is, not to mention the laundry list of people with a pale crush on him. If what's the problem?
Dave asks, looking up at you. Us. People knowing about us,
you say. What? No. I just don't know if I can be around Vriska and not, stab her.
Dave hisses, a furious little rattle building in his chest. Huh? What did Vriska do?
You ask, entirely baffled. You!
Dave snaps and launches himself out of your seat and starts pacing back and forth. You definitely don't remember that.
You say, but Dave is already off again. You told me what the price was for her helping you, which was, and I've said it before, real goddamn stupid. You know Vriska's deranged, and you should never have agreed to let her work with you. And if you had, you should have said the price had to be something firm. I mean, agreeing to help her change her well-deserved reputation is so woolly. And what happens when she changes her mind and decides that you didn't hold up your end of the deal? What's she going to do to you?
Dave rants as he paces. You consider Dave's own past with mind control and carefully word your next question. You're worried about me?
You ask. Of course I am, you useless tool! And I know her mind control works on you, so I should just preemptively off her.
Dave hisses. And now this has veered into the topic of murder. You step a little closer to him and catch his face in your hands. Calm down, Dave. Shush.
You say softly as his outraged hiss muffles into a discontented growl. If she even goes near you, I'll...
Dave says. You'll give her the idea that I've been doing the opposite of what I agreed to, like I've been talking shit about her behind her back. That's probably more dangerous.
You remind him and, there, all the rage in him goes. I didn't think that. Fuck. Fine, I'm going with you. Just try to stay away from that psycho. Please?
Dave asks you, looking up at you with his dark eyes. He hardly wears his shades in your hive anymore, and you halfway suspect it's because he knows you're kind of weak to it. Sure, I'll hang out with the definitely normal and stable people I know instead.
You promise, and Dave rolls his eyes at you but accepts that for the promise it actually is. You press your forehead to his for a breath or two, feeling him relax under your hands. I'll go.
Dave says again softly. You don't have to.
You remind him. Yeah, I do if you're going. I'll see you there, though. It's Jiech's wriggling day the night after, so I gotta go buy him a present the night before so I can just bounce straight over there.
He says. What are you going to get him?
You ask and let go of him. Movies or movie stuff, probably. He's big into that.
Dave says. Really? What kind?
You ask. Bad ones, mostly.
Dave laughs. Sounds like you get on with Karkat, then.
You snicker, and Dave grins, too. Now that'd be interesting,
he says. Dave replies to Karkat's invitation that he's going, and the two of you let the subject drop. When the night of the party rolls around, you fly yourself over there, landing outside Roge's lavish hive. KarKat gave walking directions to get where you need to go. You follow them on your palm husk down to the curb in the street, and then off the road towards some trees that give way to sand dunes, and then the beach and ocean. It's sandier here, apparently, than where you first met Durka, which was mostly rocks and cliffs.
You don't even have to follow the directions, as when you get close to the trees, you can hear KarKat's loud voice, and so you just follow that. He's standing inside the grove of trees that are strung with twinkling lights. Tables are scattered here and there with candles on them and chairs all over the place. A large table at the end is bowing with food in the covered dishes and bowls. Across the other side of the clearing are the dunes that you can just see a flash of the sea through. It's certainly a fancy and classy party.
Hey, Alex, you found us.
Nepeta calls out over KarKat's rant about some TV show.
Followed KarKat's voice, and here I am.
You answer quickly. Fuck back off where you came from then, Nook Munch,
KarKat says without venom.
Solix!
You look around to see Dave abandoning a table with his music stuff on it to cross the clearing to you, walking right past Roge as he does so.
Solix! I was starting to think you got lost or something,
He says. I'm just fashionably late,
you say. Only thing about you that is.
Dave mocks you with a laugh. I'll be crying into my coon for weeks now. Hope you're happy. But I'm not even late, really. I'm about on time, and loads of people aren't here yet.
You point out. But Solix, the party don't... Ah! Oh, why?
Because he wants to cause you suffering.
Wants to cause me suffering. But Solix, the party don't start till you walk in,
Dave says in flawless deadpan. You kind of hate that you've heard so much music from him being around you that you know the song he's referencing. Well, I'm leaving. Bye, KarKat. Bye, Nepeta.
You say and turn around to walk off. Only Dave laughs and snags his hand on one of your horns and pulls you back with a laugh. You can hear Nepeta making a quiet noise of excitement. Come on, I want to show you my music,
He says, and pulls you in the direction of his previous spot, not dragging you the whole way or anything. He lets you go after just one careful pull in the right direction. You still follow him like an iron to a magnet. Glancing over your shoulder, you see Nepeta and KarKat exchanging surreptitious smiles and launching into whispered conversation that you suspect is less about the romantic lives of fictional people, and instead about you and Dave. Dave starts showing you the songs he's got queued up, mixes that he's made, and all of that is in preparation for moments when he's not at his turntables mixing things live. After all, he wants to be at the party too, not just doing work for it. It's interesting, it really is, but you find your eyes drawn to KarKat and Nepeta again.
And then after that track is finished playing, my husktop will transform into a rocket and fly into the sky and blow up because you're not listening,
He says flatly. I love them.
It's so great.
I am listening. It's just them. I think they're talking about us.
You say, nodding in the direction of KarKat and Nepeta, who are mid-debate. I figured that out too,
Dave replies, unimpressed. Do you want me to tell them to cut it out?
you ask, watching as Nepeta gestures excitedly in your direction and talks rapidly.
Dave takes his hand off his husktop keys and sets them on the table with a sigh.
Why are you... Do you think I don't want people to know about you? Like I'm embarrassed or something?
He challenges you. You look away from Nepeta to see that Dave looks actually annoyed. I didn't think you were embarrassed. You're just private. You don't share everything with pretty much anyone. Besides, your friends all have pale feelings for you, so I get how it'd be easier not to say. I can keep a secret if it's better for you.
But you don't want to, right?
He demands, and you're not sure what the right answer is.
You hesitate. It's awkward, yeah. And I know about how they feel, and that's always been weird, but they're over it. I doubt they're all even into me like that anymore, or that they even ever were.
Dave says, oblivious to the fact that they absolutely were, and still are.
It's hard to bring it up naturally, and it's awkward, but I'm not hiding. But you're always thinking about me instead of ever doing what you want,
He says in exasperation. I'm sorry?
you venture. But it must be the wrong answer because Dave groans and facepalms. Hey, Roge!
Dave says, looking up and spotting his friend. Roge raises an eyebrow, but leaves her conversation with Vriska, when did she show up, you wonder, to walk over to you.
Yes?
Roge asks. Dave hesitates.
I'm dating Solix. He's my Moirel. Oh,
Rouge says, her eyebrows raising in surprise.
And I thought I should tell you.
Dave adds.
Me specifically?
Rouge asks curiously, and you watch as Dave's skin flushes darker and darker.
Yes, well, no. I mean, yes, because we're friends, like best friends, but not because only you need to know. It's just that I'm not hiding it, because I'm actually super happy about the whole thing, and, him.
Dave adds in awkward bursts of speech. I think she gets it. God, Dave, you really don't need to do this. Really.
Oh, sorry. I can't read!
None of us can. We're all just faking.
Why do we do this voice acting thing if we can't fucking read?
We're just masochists. We just want the English language to destroy us every day.
Ooh, yes.
What else could explain?
What else could explain? Just love the torture of the English language.
Yes. I think she gets it. God, Dave, you really don't need to do this. Really.
You assure him.
Oh, wait, shit. The worst thing to do with Dave is to try to control him. Telling him he doesn't have to do this means you basically dared him.
No, I do. I could write it on my forehead, and I've been pale for you since basically forever. And if I could do the mirror writing thing, I would. Oh, God. I'm gonna have to do this with everyone, aren't I?
Dave says in dawning horror. You really don't. I don't care what people think. And if you really wanted to tell everyone, you could just do it all at once with a... Dave, what are you...
You trail off as Dave boosts himself in the air by pushing off of your shoulders.
With a memo or something!
You hiss up at him, but Dave has committed himself to his dumbassery, so evidently he's going to follow it through. Attention, friends, fans, members of the press!
Dave yells. You lock eyes with Rouge, and she communicates through a mere eyebrow raise that Dave's idiocy is your problem now.
Solix is my Moirail now! Well, not now. For a while, I mean also now. We didn't break up the second or anything, so he has been for some time and will be for, I don't know, hopefully forever?
Dave says, clearly starting to flounder. Why is this happening?
You whine. Also, forever? Holy shit, you might need to lie down. We're making this happen, bro!
Dave yells. I am going to throw you into the sea!
You threaten and pull him down. Oh shit, that was a terrible idea. Why did you let me do that?
Dave gasps as he lands. I specifically told you not to do that!
You hiss.
Across the clearing of baffled onlookers, Karkat and Nepeta break out into semi-confused applause, with stifled laughing from Karkat. Distantly, you hear John call out,
Wait, seriously?
Dave is still looking like he's going to spontaneously combust.
Why, Dave? I thought you were allergic to emotional sincerity.
Rouge purrs.
I am. I'm dying. Throw me a bitching corpse party.
Dave whines. Well, it's not like everyone doesn't know now, so... You reach and gently pap Dave's face. Just once, you're still in public after all. You're not going to die.
You tell him. Whatever? You're gonna fight death as a concept or something?
Dave asks. Sounds like a plan.
You agree.
Dave says, his embarrassment ceding ground to being genuinely swooned at your words, or at least a little swooning is happening. So, show me about this stuff then.
You ask him, gesturing to his setup. I knew you weren't listening.
Dave accuses you without malice, but touches the trackpad on his husk top to wake it up. Before Dave launches back into his explanation, Rouge reaches over and touches your arm. You look up and see that she's smiling.
Genuinely? Congratulations. He seems very happy.
Rouge says, more to you than Dave. She's accepting that you're together, even that you're good for him. Thanks. I want that.
You say, and Rouge smiles brightly and then walks off, leaving you two alone again. Did she mean that I don't make you happy?
You definitely don't need to worry about that.
You tell him immediately. Dave smiles again, even though he quickly tries to smother it. He's still around other people who are probably operating under the delusion that he's cool. Dave takes you through his music, and this time you do pay full attention. Even so that when he's done, you notice that just about everyone is here. Even Aradia's ghost is floating near, a very unsettled looking Vriska. You and Dave end up going separate ways, Nepeta leaping on Dave to quiz him, and you very selfishly letting him throw himself on that grenade alone so you can get food. Because fuck, free food!
You consider going back to talk to Dave when you have a plate of food, but given that Jaded is standing next to him with her face in her hands as a confused-looking John talks to Dave, you figure that you maybe won't go over there.
But, Solix,
John asks skeptically. Alright, yeah, you're not going over there, but you will flip John off as you walk by.
Yes, really.
Dave says stiffly.
But you've known him for 5 minutes.
John argues. I've actually talked to him a bunch, John, and he's perfectly sweet. And also, right there!
Jaded says sharply and smacks him in the arm. The three of them look over at you, and you take the chance to flip John off and walk over to Nepeta and Karkat.
Congratulations! I'm so happy! My ship is canon! I knew you liked them so much!
Nepeta says gleefully and hugs you.
Thanks, Nep.
You say happily. They're so disgustingly, pitifully pale for each other. You really need to see them up close.
Karkat informs her and leans against your shoulder for the purpose of stealing food from your plate.
I can't wait!
Nepeta laughs. There's movement that catches your eye, and you see Terezi and Vriska walking over to you. You keep your cool. You can do that. Though, as she passes Dave, it's evident that he can't. His claws are gouging dents into the can of drink in his hand, and you know he's staring right at Vriska as she sails past him.
So, it seems congratulations are in order,
Vriska says, flicking her hair over her shoulder.
Glad to see someone finally got diamonds on that boy. And Karkat, you two are what these days? Pitch, flush?
Terezi asks, turning her head to Karkat a little. Both, pretty much,
Karkat answers.
Scandalous.
She cackles.
Still, last I heard he wasn't talking to you after what you did.
Vriska presses on, not one to slow an interrogation down for pleasantries.
He wasn't. Then he changed his mind.
You say simply.
I guess you partly have me to thank for that, huh? Did I tell you, Terezi, that me and Solix are even now?
Vriska asks and slaps a hand on your shoulder. You manage to lift Dave off the ground before he can lunge for Vriska for the terrible crime of touching you. He might be fast, but his psionics are nowhere near your strength, and if you've got him, he's not going anywhere. But you still need to keep him quiet, so you carefully buzz the slightest hint of psi over his cheeks.
We're not even. We're never going to be even for what you did. But you did really help me out when I needed it. You didn't try to stab me in the back either. You did what you said. So we're good.
You tell her, and it feels bitter to say it, but you are. You don't like her, and you'll never forgive her for killing Aradia and using you to do it, but she came out to bat for you to save Dave and didn't fuck you over for it. You can't refuse to forgive her for all the terrible things that she's done, and recognize that she helped you.
See? We are good. He said so himself.
Vriska says, taking her hand from your shoulder to gesture at all of you for emphasis. Behind her back, you carefully set Dave down and hope he gets the message about staying cool.
I never thought I'd hear that.
Terezi says, sounding impressed.
Me too.
Nepeta nods.
Just like I told you, we're all good. Let's eat.
Vriska says, whisking Terezi away. You guess she's doing it so that you can't utter some detail that makes her seem less heroic or noble. Dave is by you in a flash, as if Vriska might have done something terrible in the half a second that she obscured his view of you. Seeing that you're fine, he twists to glare over his shoulder at Vriska as she walks off.
Cut that out.
You tell him, tugging him closer by his shirt. Dave just complains under his breath and growls, but allows himself to be at least somewhat soothed by your presence. You try to ignore the several pairs of eyes you can feel on you, and remain grateful that Karkat has pulled Nepeta off to a less close distance to eyeball you from.
There, that was the big thing you didn't want to happen, and it's fine.
You reason. After what she did, you shouldn't have to do anything for her, much less play nice. She should be grateful that you're not dismantling her with your psionics, not getting you to tell Terezi about how you forgive her.
Dave snarls, thankfully quietly. I don't forgive her, I told her that. But I needed her to help me destroy your Luthus and protect you, and she did that. I'm not going to go over to her hive and braid her hair, but I'm also not going to murder her the moment a consequence-free opportunity presents itself.
You tell him. Dave still looks... well, displeased is understating it, but at the very least you don't think he's about to go confront Vriska about anything.
Don't you have beats that need dropping?
You suggest, and Dave perks up a little. They won't drop themselves. Well, actually they are because I set them up to, but I should go slam dunk some in person. Can't keep my adoring fans waiting.
Dave agrees with some more cheer than before. He leads you back to his music station, and you settle yourself on a sand dune a little lower from him and drink your drink as he does his thing. Hello, Solix.
Aradia says, appearing out of nowhere and making you choke on your drink a little.
Hey, I didn't see you. I mean, it's good to see you. Can't remember the last time that I did in person without you being a robot.
You choke out, and she drifts down to sit next to you.
Aside from when you killed Dave's Lucis, it has been an awfully long time,
she says, and her hair shifts in a breeze that isn't there, locks of it shifting over the scorched holes in the shoulder of her shirt. Your psionics did that. You're the one who... No, don't think about it. You feel the phantom sensation of her blood on your hands, and so you float your drink in the air and rub your palms on your jeans to dispel the feeling. Hey, Aradia, right?
Dave asks, appearing at your side and dropping onto the sand by you. He threads the fingers of one of his hands through one of yours and runs the static of his psionics over your skin, and the feeling goes. That's me.
Aradia nods. I've never met a ghost before,
Dave tells her. There are a lot of us,
she says, and shrugs as if she doesn't care, which is probably the case. Really?
Dave says. Nepeta wishes that I was more upbeat and entertaining. If you like, I can tell you a fun fact about ghosts,
Aradia says, looking over at Dave.
You try to silently communicate with Dave that Ghost Aradia's definition of fun is wildly disproportionate to that of normal people. You need to work on your signals, because Dave is looking interested enough that Aradia continues. You are the opposite of most people,
she tells him. Oh,
Dave says. Most people are responsible for the deaths of other people, but don't consider most of them to be because of them, or to be their fault. The ghosts tell me whose fault it is, who killed them, who is the reason they died. Most people have more dead and less guilt,
Aradia says conversationally.
Aradia!
You try to interrupt.
You are backwards. You hold yourself responsible for the deaths of 5 grubs, but none of their deaths were your fault, and I could not find a single spirit who harbored any ill will to you at all. I checked you out when Solix messaged me about you, and I knew he was going to do something dumb,
Aradia explains. Dave is frozen, clearly in shock and probably horrified at her words.
Dave, don't listen. She's forgotten how interacting like a normal person...
You start, trying to diffuse the situation. They don't blame me? But I...
Dave says, barely above a whisper. They don't. You're a nice boy, Dave. I'm glad you're with Solix. He needs pity from someone with a good pusher,
Aradia says, and Dave beams.
Oh God, your face is burning up with something between embarrassment and a fluttering rush of feelings. Who knows how dark your face must be right now? It's not helping that Dave has noticed and is laughing at you.
Oh man, Aradia, you should absolutely tell me embarrassing and dorky things about Solix and or Karkat for, the greater good.
Dave laughs loudly. Or you could not.
You protest.
The things I could tell you about go on for some time.
Aradia smiles, and you've not really seen her ghost smile like that before. Suddenly you don't really have the heart to stop her from talking. Even as she tells Dave about the time when you were younger where you accidentally soldered a necklace that you were wearing that she had given you to a husk top part and got yourself stuck. You let them trade stories back and forth about you and Karkat both, and add your own notes about him when you get the chance. It's nice.
Theferi and Eridan arrive a while later, tramping over the dunes. By that point, the conversation has moved away from Dave's quadrants and cringeworthy history, and into what it feels like for Aradia to be a ghost. She explains about her ability to see how the future will play out, which you've always thought was kind of a crock of shit, but whatever. For reasons that escape you, Dave is more interested in her other ghostly powers, namely, the spookier kind.
But you can possess machines and not people?
Dave asks excitedly, leaning on your bent leg as he talks to her. That's right.
Aradia nods. Wait, what about parts of people?
Dave asks, glancing over at Tavros and his metal legs. I wouldn't do that just for fun, but if his legs have a neural component into his actual think sponge, I could, perhaps. But I think Tavros's legs and Vriska's arm work off muscle signals, not that it matters. I'd need something directly into the think sponge, and even then it'd be hard. Anyway, I don't care to try people, but a soulbot or even more complex computer systems are a good home for my soul.
Aradia says.
You know you don't have to keep going back into his bots.
You say, not for the first time.
I won't be anymore. It's not meant to happen now. But I'll still work with machines.
Aradia says cryptically. You're about to investigate that when Eridan and Pfeffery make their appearance. Pfeffery slides down a dune, and multiple people at the party rush over to see her.
Shit, it has been more than a little while since you've seen Pfeffery. Ever since that shit with Eridan blew up, she's been absent from your life. She's still unfairly pretty. Your feelings for her were pretty red, but there was a decent dash of pale in there too, though nothing in comparison to Dave. You watch as she spins Nepeta around in a hug, and then picks CarKat up in a squeeze that probably separated his vertebrae. You should talk to her. After all, how many chances are you going to get to do that?
Man, it is weird seeing that color.
Dave says under his breath, and you suppose it must be for him. Roxy's the only heiress he's seen before her, you guess. As far as you know, at least. Heiresses don't tend to spend time around each other without trying to kill each other. You like her,
Aradia says, and she may as well have doused you with ice water for all it cools you off.
What?
You say, looking at Aradia.
Pfeffery, you like her. You were flushed for her after I died. Maybe before, even.
Aradia says, her voice flat.
No, not when we were... And you can't talk. You and Equieth.
You choke out.
It's all right. I don't care.
Aradia assures you.
Same as always, then.
You mutter. Aradia doesn't care about anything, and you learned a while ago but keep having to relearn. She doesn't care about you either.
A scream wrenches your attention away from your ex-mate Sprit. It's loud and terrified, and Dave is already on his feet and armed. He's not the only one either. It's no one in your group, which is some small mercy at least, but it doesn't solve the mystery of whose scream it was. Suddenly, a terrified fish troll bursts into the clearing of trees that you're all in and freezes. Shouting and the sound of weapons on weapons clanging from behind him makes him jump, and he clearly decides that whatever he's running from is scarier than the rest of you. He sprints past you and up in the direction of the streets. He's not even out of sight when someone else rushes into sight, only this guy you know.
Durka!
Dave exclaims, lowering his sword.
Durka is standing there dripping wet, armed, and half of his shirt is drenched in purple. Needless to say, he looks caught off guard to see Dave at all.
Terror and screaming roll around in your brain. Death, a premonition of it. And here's you, surrounded by people you don't want dead. Well as Vriska and Eridan. You don't know the voice, or you don't think so at least.
Someone's gonna die.
You gasp, trying not to be too loud or talk over screams only you can hear right now. Saul.
Dave says worriedly.
Dave, what are you doing?
Durka cuts himself off and jumps back into alertness when the sound of fighting rapidly comes closer. A troll hits the peak of the largest dune near you. She's a fish troll too, but she's an heiress, and she's hurt too. You don't know this one, but you know of her. She's Ezran Gilter. Her distinctive half-shaved head and pink-tipped hair is enough to tip you off. She basically controls the next city across from you, and she's a merciless bitch, clearly gunning for the Empress's position. You'd expected Imperial drones to get an order that overrode hers and end her publicly. It's happened before with Tyrians that make too much of a show of ruling. A figure leaps on top of her, feet landing either side of Ezran's torso. The woman raises her double-ended trident high in the air, her whole form silhouetted in the pink moonlight. With a shout, she brings her weapon down with a crunch, impaling the now ex-heiress. Holy shit.
Durka?
Dave asks, and you turn to look at him to see that Durka isn't looking at the murder on the dune at all. He's facing Pfeffery and Eridan. Eridan hisses and raises his rifle to the slowly approaching Durka.
Oh, look, we got a 2-for-1,
Roxy says from atop the dune and slides down it, past the still bleeding body of Ezran, towards Pfeffery, who is hissing and has her own trident drawn.
Pfeffery's one of the good ones, right? That's why you like her, right?
Dave asks hurriedly.
Yeah, she's good. Why are you...
You start, but it's too late. Dave is already leaping into action and landing between Pfeffery and Roxy. You psionically grab Pfeffery's hand and she reflexively goes to stab Dave right in the back. Roxy has murder glinting in her eyes, and it's clear more blood will be spilt here. Mom, no!
Dave shouts, and Roxy freezes as she seems to finally process him being there.
Dave, what are you doing here? Oh, having a party? Why have you got an heiress at your party?
Roxy asks, that last part turning into a hiss.
It's not my party, it's my friends, and they say Pfeffery's good. Solix says she's good. You could talk to her instead of...
Dave tries.
Pfeffery Pixies? Direct descendant of her? No way. She's gonna die.
Roxy snarls. Fuck. I don't have a good Pfeffery voice. Just switched because I was already so many bubbly girls. Oh, wait, music. Music and singing and woo, whoop, whoop. That's what, okay, I got it. Unlikely.
Pfeffery snaps at her.
You watch as Aridin's attention drops from Durka for just a second to glance at Pfeffery and Roxy, and that's all it takes for a flash of steel to separate the gun in Aridin's hand and the hand itself from his body. Aridin screeches and doubles over his arm.
Shit, this is bad. Dave is trying to reason to Roxy that Pfeffery is good, but Dave doesn't know her enough to make the argument. But Roxy is a mutant-loving rebel, so what would she consider good?
She hates the hemospectrum, right, Pfeff?
You shout out.
Yeah, when I rule things are gonna be different. That for one, and for a second, you'll be dead.
Pfeffery hisses, jabbing her trident in Roxy's direction. What about mutants?
Durka asks, his sword lowering slightly. Fuck off, no goddamn way those gills are natural, you science project!
Aridin hisses from the ground.
I don't understand why anyone thinks it matters. They're not hurting anyone. Why? Is that the wrong answer for you, huh?
Pfeffery snarls at her, challenging her to disagree. Roxy just hisses back, her lip curled back, showing all of her fangs.
Durka bolts past Aridin and gets right up in Roxy's space, wrapping his hand around her trident and setting the other on her face.
Roxy, listen to what she's saying. She's what you've been looking for. She's on your side,
Durka says smoothly. Pfeffery moves slightly. Whether to attack him or not, you don't know, but Roxy is already trying to retaliate, even through Durka shushing her. This isn't going to go anywhere when they're both armed, so you carefully pick Dave up and pull him out of harm's way, and then pull the tridents away from both heiresses, holding them high up in the air.
Roxy, come on. Are you sure you want to do this?
Durka asks, sighing and grudgingly saying the pun. You watch Roxy's expression change into a startled laugh.
Did you just?
She giggles.
Good, you're listening. This one hates the hemospectrum and doesn't want to kill mutants. Maybe you should talk,
Durka says, his tone not leaving room for any argument. Evidently, this Moira allegiance really does go both ways. It's not just Roxy stopping Durka being a lunatic. But you suppose it makes sense. Nice or not, Roxy is still high blood, as high as it gets actually, so losing herself to anger isn't unexpected.
Are you really good? I've been looking for anyone else like me for forever, and I've been wiping out any other heiresses that are terrible. Even if I don't manage to make it to Empress myself, I can at least make things better here and change the odds of some other beach being the next one up there to ruin people's lives. Like her,
Roxy says, jerking a thumb at the corpse on top of the dune. She was awful, but what's your plan? Just challenge her yourself? You'll never win,
Pfeffery argues. Well, what's your plan then?
Roxy challenges her. Consolidate power here. That's what I've been starting to do. Then, when I have enough, take over Alternia bit by bit. Change things for people. Teach people to be better. If the trolls leaving Alternia are better, things will change. Bottom up, not top down,
Pfeffery counters. She'll just wipe you out when she realizes what you're doing. Nix an entire generation of trolls,
Roxy argues back. But what about both?
You interrupt and they both look up at you. Very on brand, Solix.
Dave groans. Shut up. I mean, if Pfeffery was to cause problems down here, change things, and you were up there taking out vital people and making it harder for the Empress to fuck Alternia over, then she couldn't stop her. Then you could eventually take the Empress down in a fair fight.
You suggest. I like those odds better,
Durka agrees. Roxy makes a thoughtful noise, and you carefully lower their weapons back to the sand, though neither of them moves to pick them up. The rest of the party has basically stopped. People are watching the heiress with trepidation and confusion. The lower bloods clearly concerned that this might go sour with a lot of casualties, and the higher-up ones looking on with political interest. Rose, in particular, is keenly tracking what's going on.
Aridin, for his part, is curled around his cut wrist as Nepeta holds his detached hand. Aridin looks like he might throw up or pass out.
It would have to be a new hand, Nepeta. Reattaching something that complicated is ludicrous,
Equius says, and you can hear his quirk.
Stop being such a weenie, Aridin. It's just a hand.
Vriska snorts and pointedly shows off her metal arm to demonstrate.
Yeah, I can't help but feel you're overreacting.
Tavros agrees, and as he's half cybernetics, you don't blame him.
You return your attention to the heiresses, who are talking to each other more quietly, still obviously prickly and suspicious, but civil now for sure. Dave looks up at you and mouths thank you at you. You point your finger to indicate a cautious Jaded, John, and Roj coming up behind him.
Dave, who are these people? You know them?
Jaded asks. It's complicated,
Dave says hesitantly. Durka watches this with mild interest and then hops up the dune to stand at your side, still overlooking Roxy and Pfeffery's political parley.
Thanks for that. If this plays out well, it'll be a huge win,
Durka says with a nod. And a girl I used to be friends with and still like doesn't get forked through the chest, which is always a plus.
You say flatly. Used to be friends with?
Durka asks, maybe worried about how good of a person Pfeffery really is if you're not vouching for her so much. We nearly had a thing, then her supposed moirail that you just unhanded pitched a fit over it, which ended that. That's the short version.
You explain, cutting out a lot of dramatic bullshit, but it's the general cut of how that deal went. Oh, you're welcome then,
Durka says, flashing you a grin that's all fang and blink and miss it fast. It's a weirdly Dave expression on him. You try not to find it endearing. I should go,
Aradia says from behind you, and suddenly you realize that she was there the whole time. You look around at her and, as always, her expression is flat and emotionless. You were just talking about a girl you nearly dated flush in front of a mate sprit that you technically never broke up with. But what about Equius then?
Wait, AA, don't go.
You plead.
Don't worry, Solix, I'm meant to go now. I'll see you after a while,
Aradia says, blinking her white eyes at you. She puts her hand through your hair, literally through it. The tip of one finger goes through the larger horn on your right side.
But...
You try to argue with her, but she simply ignores you and flies off. Damn it, is that girl ever going to stop breaking your heart? Ouch,
Durka says, deadpan.
Has anyone ever told you that you have a very punchable face?
You ask Durka, turning on him. Shockingly, you are not the first to tell me this,
Durka replies, sounding not at all surprised. Dave glances back at you from the base of the dune with his friends, who are quizzing him on why the hell he's hanging around with near-adults, who are in the murder and dismemberment business, and more importantly, why he never told them. Why did he call that one heiress mom? Yes, you did, Dave. We all heard you. All that shit. You're just glad that no one has latched onto the fact that neither you nor CarCat are incredibly surprised by any of this. Durka trails off, looks in every direction but you, and scratches his ear for a moment.
No, I want to apologize for being an ass to you. Dave is someone lots of people like, and I want him to be social and have a normal life, but him being too close to people always seemed too dangerous with me. It was too much risk. I tried to keep you apart because even if your feelings were real and intense, I couldn't be sure they'd last, and then you'd be too much of a threat.
Durka explains. Thank you for the filler recap voiceover intro, man, but I watched those episodes, so can we skip to something different?
You snark at him.
Durka glares at you, or you assume he does behind his shades. Actually, you know that Dave wears his shades both because he thinks they're cool, but also so that if his eyes go bloodshot, people won't know he's a mutant, like you did when you saw his eyes. Durka has nothing to hide. He's just a dork.
Fine, I was an ass, but I actually kind of like you and respect your integrity. I know Hal tested you after all, and Dave is clearly happy with you in his life. So, sorry.
Durka says with a shrug. The kind Dave does when he doesn't care about what you think, but very obviously does care a great deal. We're cool. Don't worry about it.
You tell him.
I actually don't know that much about you, outside of how you cheat to hack me, but I also know that you couldn't do that without knowing your ass from your elbow in coding. I'd be interested to see how good you are when you're not exploiting Roxy's loopholes.
You say, a peace offering and also genuine curiosity. Oh, I'm good, but I'm up for a little friendly competition,
Durka says, and your skin prickles at the thought of having a friend that can actually code. Not that you are friends, but you don't intend on cutting ties with Dave ever, and you bet that Dave is always going to be close to Durka, so you'll have contact with him one way or the other. May as well make it an interesting relationship, right?
Hey Durka, we're gonna bounce. Me and Pfeffery have swapped deets, but I think we might have some fin here,
Roxy announces, bounding over to you both.
That's great to hear.
Durka smiles at her, so obviously smitten. Not that you're any better around Dave.
Durka, you've been talking to Solix here. Have you been a jerk again? Has he been a jerk, Sol? If he has, let me know, okay?
Roxy says, looking suspiciously at an offended Durka. Nah, we're good. Probably gonna have a hack-off at some point.
You tell her. Oh, I'd trash you both! Just ask Dave who's the best if you don't believe me.
Roxy brags. On the subject of Dave, you look over to see him crouched on the ground by Aridin, holding his wrist aloft.
Keep it above your heart, man. It'll slow the bleeding. Here, give me that.
Dave sighs and takes Aridin's scarf and winds it around the end of the amputated limb. Aridin glubs pitifully and presses his face into Dave's side, sniffling loudly. Wow, right in front of his moirail, too.
You sigh. That doesn't bother you.
Dirk is not asking, he's observing. That Aridin the shitty moirail because he just wants all of Fef to himself? Yeah, a little I guess, but it's not my problem.
You say, looking back to Durka. I didn't mean him. Hey, Dave.
Durka says, and you jump when you find that Dave is suddenly right back by you.
Hey, everything cool here?
Dave asks, looking between you and his surrogate Lucy.
What's with all the suspicion? It's like the two of you don't trust me to interact with another troll for 2 goddamn minutes.
Durka protests. Dave and Roxy say nothing. They very loudly and pointedly say nothing.
I know I walked into that one, but fuck you both.
Durka groans.
The only thing you should be doing is fucking off.
Karkat loudly announces, wading into the situation with, presumably, no context for what's going on.
That doesn't even properly follow from what he said, dude.
Dave points out.
Fuck you too, then.
Karkat barks at him. Dave smirks and does something with his eyebrows and general facial expression in Karkat's direction that's pretty much obscene. Durka valiantly manages not to laugh. Roxy, however, is not so restrained.
All right, well, you have fun with that. Remember Jake's thing tomorrow, okay?
Durka reminds him.
Actually, can I catch a ride with you now? Usually when a party gets to the dismemberment and nearby corpse stage, I bounce.
Dave says, and yeah, there is a dead heiress over there, and Eridan is currently being carted off by Equius, with Pfeffery begrudgingly following behind. He'll get a new hand just fine. Equius has done bigger jobs before.
Sure, if you really want to go.
Roxy agrees. Dave nods and turns back to look at Karkat. He catches Karkat's face in his hands and pulls him in for a kiss that has considerably more bite in it than could be considered flush, but it does achieve the miraculous feat of rendering Karkat silent. With your best friend mentally incapacitated, Dave walks the few steps over to you and gently bumps into your side.
See you soon, yeah?
He offers quietly. My hive with your hive.
You tell him truthfully. You're the best. Later.
Dave says, and quickly kisses you on the cheek before taking off with Roxy and Durka, only pausing to shout back,
Peace out!
At your highly confused mutual friends. Hey, KK, wanna ditch your party and kill time in an old-school arcade?
You suggest. Before people have 8 million questions for us? Fuck yes, let's go.
Karkat says hurriedly, and pulls you off back in the direction of town.
You have a feeling it's going to be a good night.
Boys are back in town.
The boys are back in town.
Boys are back in town.
The boys are back in town. Oh God, what was it? The boys are back.
Yes. the murder show.
The murder show.
I love that cover. It won't do while we're recording, but we're done. So
we are done.
Let's can it.
Laters. Into the can. Latest peeps. He's probably going to exploit this you helping him thing so that he can rant to you in person about getting in touch with Dave again. You're onto his schemes. Why? Dave is here.
Yep.
Why hasn't he figured this out? This is dumb. Obviously.
I love you, Solix, but sometimes you dumb as hell.
It's like banging him over the head. Just downloaded a bunch of shit to get you to come over. Now there's a person here. Who could it be? I don't know. Karkat's Lucis. I'm intelligent and a computer programmer. And my name is Solix.
Solix smacks in, Zero is.
Ooh, honestly.
Thanks for listening. You can get in touch with us at the socials on screen, and if you make anything related to this project, we'd love to feature it, so let us know. This has been Nerdhilistic, celebrating what we love.